I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
That's Booby.
And Jelpy. Holy moly, where did everybody go?
Where's Ghosty?
Ghosty's over there. I saw him down there.
How you treat my guy
what's
Ghosty?
happening in this room? I haven't been here, babe, all day.
Got no love for the big homie Ghosty.
God. There he is. He's good. He's very, very movable.
All right.
Also, if you're interested in one of these guys, go to, say that. I always say Plord, and it's not Plord.
It's blacklordpapa.emeritus.plushie.
So cute.
On Facebook. They have nothing to do with us.
No, they don't. They just sent us one of these with my shirt on him.
We don't get anything, but they're friends of our channel.
Yeah, and I think that they make a legit good product.
They
so
really
I'm like,
do.
this is great. If you want something, and they like custom make it, so if you want something else, you probably could have your best friend made.
That's all.
One of these days, we're gonna have to get him to make a Vin and Sori. That would be so cute.
That would be a good one.
It would. I was gonna go set him in the mugs, but we are currently drinking tea.
From our mugs, huh?
There's some new gear up on our Teespring. Check out the link in the description.
The Till We Die shirt. That is so awesome.
Cannot wait to get it.
Okay. For time and topical political commentary, you can hit us up at Middle America with Vin and Sori.
Yes. You just put up another video, didn't you?
I did last night, but I've got like 3 or 4 in my head that need to get put up. But you know, what can you do? All right. This, however, is Dimmu Borgir.
We haven't done one in a while.
We haven't done one in quite some time for this band.
So shout out to JLU who requested this song.
Big homie.
And you have the patience of Job, as does Vinny. He has to deal with me. Anyway,
there's a
thank
certain
you for
situation that happened a couple days ago that made her see what the boy Vin had to deal with.
So true.
Yeah, we've got a $75 partner tier where you can jump straight to the head of the line, and that's what the big homie has done. So this is In Death's Embrace, Dimmu Borgir. Let's go.
Okay, and whoa. Dang it.
This always happens. Unreal.
I'm sorry.
Go!
Go. Whoa.
We have to stop.
What?
Look, we have to do this all over again. It's Ian's birthday. Forgot to say happy birthday to Ian.
If we could have just added it in, I'm an editor.
I don't care. It's very, very important to me. It's my guy.
Okay, well.
It's my guy. He's very, very close to my heart.
Start this over.
So I just go, we only had 45 seconds, so. Alright.
So I guess we're gonna sing happy birthday. Yeah, that makes no sense to me. So you just start and I'll throw in with you.
It's like,
Yeah.
like that.
Go ahead.
Alright. 1, 2, wait.
The suspense is killing me.
Suspense is killing us. Where's my pick? Here's the pick that you said was so important to you in the video, and it's still there.
I haven't had time to make it.
All right. This is happy birthday for Ian, the big homie, my favorite villager. You ready? 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday!
For all you
that was in the style of Cradle of Filth.
Listeners, was supposed to be
Cradle of Filth.
Danny Filth and Lindsay Schoolcraft.
You sounded like Lindsay. But yeah, happy birthday, Ian. I love you, my old soul, my guy. You know I
Sorry for
do.
misrepresenting you, Lindsay. I tried.
And no, you did great. You should have been up there, especially with your Maleficent thing.
Yes, my horns.
We found her replacement. You've been replaced, Lindsay, by the great Sori. Okay. I love you, Ian. It's the first time in Vin and Sori history that such a review was paused for that. All right.
I know.
Back
It's
to
never
our
happened.
regular schedule.
He knows that I hate when I'm in the middle of the review to like stop it. So the fact that he stopped it, he was like, he looked at me. He was like, I'm taking a risk now.
Took a risk.
Stop.
Took a risk. Okay, back to your regular schedule program.
All right, let's get back to it. Now we know how it's gonna start. Go. very interesting thing because what we were talking about seemed, from my understanding of the song, seemed pretty dark. And some of the stuff I was like, whoa.
What do you mean what we were talking about?
What the song is talking about.
Oh.
It's like but the music itself was bright and lifting. But then there was other stuff mixed into it.
Well, that little
very,
center,
very unique.
That center bridge was kind of contemplative.
Yeah.
The single piano. I just love that emotive stuff. Like, not a bunch of keys, just very well placed. But the musician, sometimes like when you have synth and stuff like that, like it, you can kind of go over one or the other. So you'll have some people in the band and you can tell they're traditional metalheads and they just want to, they just want to grind, and then you have other people who are more synth oriented, and so you want like the entire thing to sound like that. I felt like they had such a good balance between the synth operatic stuff and the actual metal with the guitar.
Yeah.
God Almighty, the musicianship was really, really.
It was very powerful sounding.
We're more like a lyric analysis. We're more like analyzers, not really reactors that much. But sonically here, this was beautiful, man. Good Lord. When I was in my like real dark period before I went to the hospital, like this would have been my jam.
I can see it. I think it's great. You remember how they said like the cathedrals were built like with very, very high ceilings, so it kind of gave you the feeling of soaring when you walked in.
You were supposed to have a transcendent.
Right, so it was like the room was created in such a way to give you a feeling, so it would kind of like, I don't know, expand your spiritual experience when you were in that location.
Yeah.
And like this, I love it when musically they do that. They create a sound that kind of gives you this like lifting feeling, and they captured it in this one.
I mean, obviously the subject matter was explicitly satanic. However,
that's what I said. It was like, this is dark, but the music itself was very interesting.
Right. Music is such a powerful
vehicle.
Well, as a Christian, right, we believe in bodies, souls, and spirits, right, and that they're interconnected, interdependent, but they're not the same. And anytime you can find a vehicle that connects the two, it's extremely powerful. So music operates on the physical realm, obviously with vibration, basically, if you whittle it down, but it connects to the soul and the spirit in an extremely unique way. And so it's unbelievable. And I was listening to this song and I'm like, obviously we're gonna get to the lyrics in a second. I just feel like, hey, if you're offended by the because I know as a Christian, some people are like, what a waste of talent, in the sense of you've got all this talent to create this type of music, but at the same time you're doing it for the devil.
Yeah. And
my retort is, well, people on our team need to come up with something. You know what I'm saying? Like, look, during the Renaissance, there's a lot of religious, really, really good art, and
I know.
And in contemporary America, I mean, this is not an American band, but Christianity just went through this. We abandoned the artistic sphere.
Yeah.
And we left the artistic sphere of people who don't carry our worldview. Yeah. And these people obviously have spent their entire lives perfecting their craft. You can't say it's a waste. They perfected their craft. What are you going to do? And so it's like, look, it's on Christians to create, go in there and be disciplined and perfect your craft and stop making corny stuff, man. Like, look at the Christian movies in the 80s. Like, when we were watching Hellraiser, like, some of it was corny, but it was corny from the perspective of kids watching it in 2018, 2019, because technology has advanced. But at the time, it was cutting edge and it was risky, and Christians were just not known for being cutting edge and risky in this iteration of Christianity. Back in the day, during the Renaissance and things like that, man, we were crushing it. I mean, the Sistine Chapel, forget it.
Right.
I mean, we had it, and then we surrendered it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, but this is some beautiful stuff, man. Sonically speaking, anyway. Lyrically. So the song is called In Death's Embrace.
You know what's interesting, too, is when you think about it, first of all, I have seen so many messages. We've had so many people reach out to us, and they say, X and YZ song saved my life. Like, music itself is such a lifesaver for so many people. Like, it seems to me that's the number one thing that has saved the most people? I mean, obviously we're Christians, so apart from
in our what do you mean by that?
Music it's so versatile because it's not just metal, but there's other songs and other things. But music itself, the art of music has saved a lot of lives. Like
100%.
art, like painting art or like physical art like that is. I mean, I'm sure that there's some stories where that saved people's lives, but like music has saved so many lives.
Mm-hmm.
But even this song, I didn't think by the end of it that it was like. Well, let's just go through the lyrics and then I'll kind of see my feet.
You didn't think it was what?
Like at the end, it didn't sound like it was like a good thing. Unhallowed by the
We're forever captured by the embrace of death.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I didn't think that. I think the point of the song was that, it's like in Game of Thrones where that guy said, the god I worship is death or whatever, and so it's like the idea is. Death is really the only omnipotent being in the world because as far as they can see,
it's unstoppable.
Death is unstoppable.
Yeah.
Right? And from a biblical perspective, the Bible is self-conscious of that. That's why in 1 Corinthians 15,
I was literally thinking of that.
Oddly enough, in the great resurrection passage, it says, after he has deposed all dominion and authority, he's put all things under his feet, and the last enemy to be destroyed is death.
Mm-hmm. Actually, no, that's not the one I was thinking. I was thinking of he holds the keys of death and Hades.
That's Revelation 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, your point's well taken, is that because he died and rose from the dead, then Jesus is then rewarded the keys of death and Hades, because the picture is that he wrestled death, beat him, and so he gets awarded the dominion of his and then death and Hades gets thrown into the lake of fire, which basically means another dimension, and yada yada yada. But
it's that whole stream that you just talked about. That's something that, like, I went through a phase in my life where I loved to think about like that. In my mind, I would picture this battle between beings or whatever, and that one was death, and death just keeps taking people, and it's unstoppable, and it just keeps going, and it answers to no one. It doesn't matter if you're rich, if you're poor, if you're nice, if you're mean, if you're young, if you're handsome, you're strong. It doesn't matter. Death comes unexpectedly in many ways, and nobody is good enough to beat it. Like, there's no way to beat it. But then I think about Jesus and what he came, and then he was raising people from the dead. Right. So it kind of started like this thing, like, wait a minute, okay, is death not as powerful as this guy? Because this guy is telling death, no, you can't have that one, bring that one back. Right. Or we've heard so many, you hear so many stories. Obviously, we're Christians, so we believe everything happens because God is working that thing out. So if somebody dies on the table and they go toward the white light, and then they have like this experience, and then they come back, and they're like, I went and I came back. Like, we believe it was God that brought them back.
Right.
So all those instances where it's like, wait, is death not as powerful as it's bragging to be? But then that, where Jesus comes in and he holds the keys to that. Yeah.
You got a lot of hype, death. You know what I mean?
A lot of talk.
Yeah, but
till someone bigger than you showed up.
Yeah. You don't want no smoke. But that's one of the reasons, honestly, when I listen to it, because a lot of people all the time, they go, oh, we're expecting you to go crazy, da-da-da. When I hear blasphemous stuff, like, it doesn't affect me that way because I'm 1,000% convinced that he won.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean? Like, the Nationals just won the World Series. So it's like, if somebody would say, the Nationals suck, they're so dumb, blah, 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 you'd just be like, they won the whole thing. They're the champions. Right? So it's that's why this stuff doesn't affect me like that. Obviously I don't like to hit, the whole... First of all, raping the sanctity of the saints, I get it. Rape has a semantic domain that's a lot larger than just the concept, but considering that, like, I don't, he's talking about a violent violation of the sanctity of the saints. I don't think he's not advocating for the primary definition of the term. I just don't like it, but I don't like it at all as a concept, period, and because of the work that we've done outside of this stuff. But aside from that, I think what he's saying is he's not celebrating it, because at the end he talks about being captured by the embrace of death. I think what he's saying is, look, all this other stuff is just pretension, and even your God is not strong enough to overcome death. That's why he says the Heavenly Father stretching his hand, pathetically begging for mercy.
From death.
Right. As we breathe the breath of the unholy, and it's kind of, I'm not sure if they've got a little bit of a theological confusion here between the Father and the Son, because they're talking about violating his sacred flesh, which the Son is the one that took on flesh, not the Father. So
that's so funny because I wasn't looking at it as maybe they're confused. I was reading it and I'm like, how does this make sense? So I was picturing the Father in heaven, like stretching out his hand. I'm like, okay, where's he stretching it? Maybe he's stretching it toward Jesus on the cross. And then I'm like, the Father is begging for mercy? Who is he begging mercy for? But you're right. They're probably mixed up as to what that is. So
yeah, and might be also a combination of that. In the Sistine Chapel where Adam is reaching his finger toward God, that connection and that separation, he might have had that in his head, but...
Well, I think a lot of people, they think that the Father and the Son, they're all the same thing when they're not.
Well, granted, the Trinity is an extremely complex topic, right? So, if you, right now, when you say they're not the same thing, technically they are the same thing,
but not the same.
They're not the same right. Yeah. Right. So I could completely understand if we as Christians can trip up. I can totally understand how he'd. This one right here also is very interesting.
The thing would be God. I think I was meaning person, but I guess I see with the confusion.
Right, well,
case in point.
Vincent is a stickler for, but right there where it says harvesting helpless Christian spirits is a very, very interesting one. Because your spirit is in our perspective, so the physical part of you interacts with the physical world, the soul interacts with the emotional world, and the spirit interacts with the supernatural world, is what we say. And so when you die, your spirit goes back to the God who gave it. But it's interesting, harvesting helpless Christian spirits. Again, this is death. And death is it doesn't matter if you're a Christian or if you're on the side of evil like they're personifying, everybody's embraced by death.
Yes. I mean, were you going to say more about that? When he says, the helpless Christian spirits, harvesting helpless Christian spirits, that to me was just silly because I don't believe that Christian spirits are helpless. And Paul, he was a pretty major figure in the Bible, and he was saying in one sense, he's it's cool to be here and help you guys out, but in the other sense, I'd rather just die and be with God, because that was his greatest desire.
He was legitimately torn.
So yeah, he was
Philippians chapter 1.
Yeah, and it wasn't about being suicidal. It wasn't that he despaired of living at that point. It was just that he just wanted to be with God, the God who made him.
Your relation, you definitely have a relationship with God on the earth, but it is heightened exponentially in the next world.
Right.
And so that's what Paul is yearning for. And I think every Christian, when you have those moments of closeness with God, those indescribable moments.
Yeah.
Every Christian wants to just stay there. And in this world, you can't stay there because there's literally things that need to get done. The diaper needs to get changed, period. And so every Christian has that same desire.
We have a 6-month-old.
Yeah, if you really wanted to stay in that spot with God, you'd have to be dead. So a yearning to stay in those moments really is a yearning for death in the sense of going to the next world.
Right.
The other thing that was interesting is just a phrase, because one of my favorite passages is Hebrews 12, where he says, you've come to Mount Zion, the heavenly Jerusalem, the city of the living God. You've come to thousands upon thousands of angels in joyful assembly, and to the spirits of the righteous made perfect. I love that phrase, the spirits of the righteous made perfect. And the idea is, in this world, you're still battling your sinful nature. So you're kind of bifurcated, and the new part of you is at war with the old part of you, and you're fighting to the death, literally. And then when you die, that part of you is over, and now your spirits have been perfected. Hebrews 12 is very technical, though, because it says the spirits of the righteous made perfect because they're not resurrected yet. So they're not completely perfected until the resurrection, but their spirits are. So I just thought that was really interesting, because in our perspective, we're helpless on this earth to overcome our sin completely. But it's when we die, when we actually become empowered to be what we want to be, which is to be perfect spirits.
Right.
So it's very, very ironic.
Yeah, but I think that I see where he was going with the stuff that he was saying. I mean, he's obviously very incorrect on a lot of different things in this song, actually, if you're talking theologically. But I think if you go by what, if you don't really know a whole lot about what our actual theology is, I can see how you could come to these conclusions.
But I think that makes sense for the Trinity stuff, but I don't think that makes sense for this when he talks about the helpless spirits, because I think what he's saying is, look, you guys have all this theology about what happens after death, but the fact of the matter is you're going to be completely helpless when death happens, right? Which of course, look, I can see a person saying, you cannot know what happens after death as a Christian. You can't know that what you're saying is actually going to happen. But I would say the same exact thing. You can't know that you're doubting. This is the thing that kills me about a lot of people. It's like they're very, very skeptical about worldviews that they don't like, which is fine, but they're not self-critical of their own.
Right.
How do you know what happens to a person's consciousness after they die?
Right.
How can you possibly claim any sort of gnosis about that? You know, like, I get it. If we're being completely practical, I 100% agree with you. I cannot know from a completely technical, epistemological perspective what happens after death. But the same way that you're convinced that when you close your eyes for the last time, it's just black, is the same way that I'm convinced that it'll be us opening our eyes for the first time. So that's the thing to me. It's like, okay, I get it. Like
more so for us, I think, because we actually have someone who was there that came and told us. You know what I mean? Like this idea that it's nothing when you leave. It's not like somebody could leave and go to nothing and then come back from nothing and tell you there's nothing. So you don't have any proof. You don't even have one eyewitness. So.
We know that Jesus existed. No historian that is expert in the field is going to deny that. We know that he was crucified under Pontius Pilate. Even Bart Ehrman agrees with that.
Yep.
We know that he died. Even everybody knows that. We know he was buried. And we also know that after he was buried, his movement exploded, which is completely unique in that time period. And no, I'm not talking about people who are claiming that they believed that he rose from the dead. These are people who are saying that they ate with him and that he touched them and that they touched him. And if they were lying, that would mean they died brutal deaths for a lie that they knew was a lie.
Not only that, like a lot of their family members were killed. So somebody might, there might be some random people that would die for a lie that they know is a lie, but to watch your own family members die for a lie that you know is a lie, that's even
psychologically
crazier.
Impossible. That's why even massive skeptics like Bart Ehrman, etc., they're like, well, I do think they had some sort of visionary experience through. I was watching a debate with Bart Ehrman and Richard Carey, I think his name is, and Ehrman was like, yeah, I think they had some sort of experience because everybody's trying to explain this unique in history explosion. And so it's never been done before or since. And so your point's well taken. Obviously, as a Christian, I'm biased. I agree. I think we have more basis for our post-mortem theory than other people do, because we're the only ones making the claim that somebody came back.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Right? So
that's what I said.
Yeah. And it's kind of a crazy heuristic, right? Because if on the other side they did have somebody to come back and report that there was nothing, that would mean then that there is life after death. Because how are you conscious of
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And if you went to nothing and there was nothing, how could you come back from nothing?
From nothing, right.
You would have been gone.
Well, the bigger question is, if there was ever a time in the history of the universe when there was nothing, then there's only nothing that would be. Right? Because you can't get something out of nothing. So we don't believe that there was ever a time when there was nothing. So yeah, I mean, there are tremendous philosophical questions which this song is not designed to answer. Obviously, I think.
Nonetheless, musically, it was amazing.
I think this song is designed to confront the religious with the fact that death seems to be invincible and unconquerable, and the point is well taken because in the scripture it says death is an enemy that is yet to be defeated completely.
Right.
Or destroyed, say it that way. Jesus defeated death, but he has not destroyed death yet.
That's better, yeah.
There you are. What do you give the song?
9.8.
I gotta say this is a 10 for me. I just felt like they balanced out the synth and the musicianship so well. They did such a good job with that. So to me, it's a 10 for sure. I feel like this song is a song that you could. This was written in '97.
Oh wow.
It's 2019. And
wow.
I feel like in 2040, if you play this song, it'll still rock. So that's kind of my bar for 10. So there you go.
There you have it.
Dimmu Borgir in Death's Embrace. It's a 10. Happy birthday, Ian. Vin out.
Sorry out.
Down. Love you, buddy. Huh? You're a good friend of mine.
You are. You're so special to him. He talks about you all the time.
Alright,
I'm like, what about me? Talk about me. Talk about me.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, Ian left the village, so we can talk
What?
about me now.
Oh. I'm so full of it. Just end the video, please.